So there are some very basic reasons why the University of Washington needs to put an end to the encampment at the Quad. And it is truly unbelievable to me that the university has not seen it yet. This segment is brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. I'm down 37 pounds on the program, and I lost most of that weight in just 2 months. There's no prepackaged meals, no counting calories, no drugs or injections. Schedule your free 15-minute consultation today at eastsideweightlossclinic.com. unDivided, we had a team at the University of Washington on Friday, and you're going to see some of the clips tomorrow, but we decided to go there Friday during the day. So I think we showed up around 1 p.m. We ended up staying until around 6. And our goal for the day was to try to engage people at the encampment in productive conversations. So what we ended up doing, we had a few people with us. Former State Senator Simon Sefcik, a Republican, was with us. We thought it might be interesting to also engage them in some conversations about, political issues and social issues. And then we had 2 Jewish individuals there, John Michael and a man named David. So David's interesting because he just got back from Israel. He fought with the IDF. And so the whole strategy for the day was to place them in chairs with tables in front of them and a sign. And at one point, David and John Michael, they started off with a sign that said, "I'm Jewish, ask me anything." And then that went pretty well, and they had a lot of really productive conversations. And so we then put a sign in front of David that said, "I, defended Israel with the IDF, ask me anything." And so, we really, we stayed way longer than we intended because we really were having productive, wonderful conversations. 95% of the people there treated us respectfully. We had some, let's call them low IQ individuals who came up and shouted at us, etc. But we had no real issues. What was terrifying to me as someone who makes a living off the First Amendment, as a taxpayer who has every right in the world to move freely around the campus of the University of Washington, what was stunning to me is the extent to which UW has handed access to the Quad over to anonymous people, over to people who may or may not be students. In fact, we even saw some individuals setting up tents who were clearly just homeless, 40, 50, 60-year-old just homeless people who decided, hey, I could just be homeless here for as long as they allow this encampment to continue. There's food and water and all of that. And clearly, we've got the university police keeping us safe here, and they're not going to tell me to move it along. So it was stunning to me the extent to which on a public campus, the university has allowed anonymous people hiding behind masks to dictate access, to dictate security, to dictate the media and to suppress the media, and to dictate the freedom of people to move about as they choose. So I want to give you 2 examples. So we're there 5-6 hours, hardly a problem at all, besides some people who were just shouting at us, which I don't think is an issue. If you want to shout at me, I have, as long as it's not a death threat or something, I really have no issue with that. I have a lot of respect for the First Amendment and other people's First Amendment rights. So other than that, honestly, we're there all day brokering these really great conversations. And as we're packing up to leave, there are still some of the people we brought with us are still engaged in conversations sort of offline, off camera with some of the protesters, and all that's going fine. This young woman dressed in black looked like a makeshift security guard. Turns out they were a security for the encampment, a completely anonymous person who'd I don't know, been bestowed with security powers by the forces that be at the encampment, came up and started to shadow us around. Here's our interaction. What is your job? You're just the enforcer? We've been really chill and nice and good conversations. I don't know that we need a chaperone. Are you our chaperone? Is there a reason in a public space why you're shadowing us? We don't need a babysitter in a public space. We're good. And you're also hiding your face and won't speak to us? It's super strange.
I'm not here to shadow you.
Then why are you 3 feet away from us?
Why am I 3 feet away from you? Because there is a Palestine protest.
We see that.
People are here with signs talking about the IDF.
You do realize we've been here for 6 hours and had no issues, right?
Absolutely. You do realize that there have been people making sure that escalation doesn't happen. That wasn't just me.
Escalation on whose part?
Really good conversation.
Do you think we've been trying to escalate something?
Because we've had nice conversations and everybody's been super nice to us.
I am not making assertions about who is escalating. I am saying that we are here to make sure that violence doesn't happen.
So who would be perpetrating violence? We've been sitting talking to people all day.
That's great.
Okay, because you coming up on us for no reason when we're getting ready to leave is honestly the antithesis of trying not to agitate. What you're doing is agitating.
Okay, you can leave then.
Well, it's a public space, so we'll leave once our friends are done talking to each other.
Great. You're right.
Yeah, but you do see the hypocrisy there, though, right? Literally just packing up our stuff.
We have been very respectful. We have been very kind. No one here has caused you any trouble, so why are you causing me trouble?
This is the first time I've even filmed anyone who came up to me because you're the first person to act like this.
Like what?
Because you know exactly what you're doing. You're shadowing us around and we haven't done anything. In fact, we've had awesome conversations with people who've been at the protest and you feel like you need to be a security presence with us and what? Intimidate us into leaving? It's really strange.
I'm standing here.
I'm telling you that following us around when we haven't done anything wrong in a public space.
Have I been following you?
Yes. You've been over here.
Walked up here.
You've been over here looming behind us with your microphone or what speaker, who are you talking to on the other end of that?
It's a walkie-talkie.
Walkie-talkie, thank you. It's been a while since I've been 13. I haven't played with a walkie-talkie in a while.
Do you think it is a
Does
little
that feel like a generative comment?
Yeah, it does because you're acting like a security guard when we're in a public space and we don't need security.
We have a safety team because Zionists have been regularly coming and causing, actively assaulting people.
Have you seen us assault anyone or act in any agitating fashion?
No, that's why I haven't engaged with you.
But you shadowing behind us, 3 feet behind us, is engaging with us.
I literally just walked up.
It's been a while now.
I am just here to make sure that everybody is safe.
Yeah, and you can shadow us in a public space. It's weird and creepy, but you can do it if you want.
Again, I'm not shadowing you.
Okay, I'm just telling you it's weird and it creeps me out. But you do you, because it's a public space, just like I don't think they should be able to block people in a public space. We're just saying that you're the first problem we've had today. So that's my piece. And you can walkie-talkie that to whoever needs to hear it. Yeah, it's just a crazy situation. I would ask the University of Washington, have you handed security power over to this group? To this group of people who I know you don't know their names, people who won't give us their names when we ask if they want to do an interview, who don't want their faces on camera, who are hiding their faces. I know the University of Washington doesn't know the names of the people who are trotting around their campus, intimidating individuals, acting as security guards. I know they don't know their names. So to the University of Washington, have you handed campus security over to this group of anonymous protesters? If the answer is no, then why are you allowing it? I can't imagine that you're okay with it. That when a group of citizens is minding its own business, not causing any sort of issues, being very respectful on campus in a public place, and we start to be shadowed 3 feet away by someone dressed in black with their walkie-talkie, faces covered, won't speak to us when I ask, hey, why are you following us? Because if you haven't handed security of the campus over to this group of individuals, then this shouldn't be happening. And you shouldn't allow it to happen. Can you imagine? And again, this isn't the two arguments I'm going to make here. This isn't about ideology. It's not about who's right and wrong. It's not about being pro-Israel or pro-Palestine or whatever it is. The message of it has nothing to do with anything. This is now an issue of campus safety and of campus security. So unless you are telling us that you have handed over the safety and security of the thousands of students under your care to a group of anonymous activists, unless you're going to tell us that, which I don't think you are, then you have an obligation to put an end to this. If we had a situation, I value the First Amendment more than anything. If we had a situation where students were just protesting peacefully, they weren't restricting people's movements, they weren't following people around, they weren't committing criminal acts of vandalism, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We wouldn't even be talking about it. But that's not what's happening. So one is the security issue. Campuses and universities, they want us to pretend, or they want to pretend like they care about student safety, right? Preventing shootings or whatever it is. And you've allowed for an environment where you've handed security and access to a certain area of campus over to anonymous activists You don't see the potential danger there. You don't see the potential liability there. There's also the issue of the media. As a member of the media, and that being a public campus, I have every right, as do my colleagues in the media, to move about freely, free from fear and intimidation. We have every right in the world. But as soon as we got there on Friday, again, this is middle of the day, we're walking, we're trying to find a place to set up. We haven't started actively trying to interview anyone. And all of a sudden, someone's following us very closely, shouting at us to stop. And we sort of get set up, and then we're moving through the encampment, and people are telling us we need to go to the media tent. Media tent? What media tent? So we filmed an interaction we had as we approached this media tent.
We were trying to do some interviews and people just keep saying we have to come to the media booth. Is there like some sort of permission we need?
Right now?
Yeah.
Can you not record right now? If possible?
Yeah. I mean, is there a protocol for the media?
Yeah.
Since it's a public space, or trying to understand like why people are referring us to a media tent in a public space. So do we need like a pass? Okay.
Your policy is to not have recordings, but it is a public
This
space.
person is just going to explain what the answer to your question.
Okay, so then I can record this
We asked you not to, but I'm not going to fight with you about it.
since it's a public space.
We're walking by with the camera, and she's following us through the bushes in a public space. You were following us through the
around,
bushes.
making sure everybody was safe.
Yeah, and we were
wasn't
at that
following
point
you
just
in
moving with
particular.
our stuff. We didn't even have any like cameras out or anything.
Consider there are a lot of hostile people that enter our space, so we have a team that tries to like keep an eye
lot of
on
what
like,
people?
hostile people.
Oh, I don't consider us hostile.
I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying we have hostile people that enter
Yeah.
our space, so we have people that are ready to like just keep an eye on that and let our community know when something is happening. So if they are like following you, they're not trying to make you feel unsafe. They're trying to be like, is this a
It
hostile
does. I'm
presence?
just it does for
you
sure.
are behaving in a way that I think it makes sense that we would be concerned.
Yeah, no, we've been just walking around.
Do you think that automatic recording is a hostile act?
And that's the
When you're
voice
in people spaces like this without asking for consent, like I do think
Yeah,
that is,
in a public space at a public university, and sort of the center of the
I
university.
think it's disrespectful to do that.
But is it hostile? Because that was the word you used earlier.
It depends.
It makes sense that it makes people nervous.
Yeah, I would say following people around also makes them a little nervous. So I can respect that. If this makes you nervous, like respect that following us around when we haven't done anything makes us a
Like I
little
said, I
nervous
really
too.
apologize that you felt followed. I've been walking around just making sure that everyone is safe.
Yeah.
I wasn't following anyone in particular.
Okay. So again, the question I had after the first clip was, has the University of Washington handed security responsibilities over to an anonymous group? If the answer is no, then the camp needs to be shut down. And the second question I have is, have you handed media responsibilities over to an anonymous group that has been given your authority to stop a free press from moving around on a public campus without being followed, without being stalked, without being harassed, without being told you can't film here, we don't want you to film here because we're worried about doxing, even though we're sitting in a public place on a public university? If the answer is no, and I happen to know that the University of Washington has a robust media team that responds to and facilitates interviews and questions from the media, if you haven't handed their responsibilities over to a group of anonymous activists, then the camp needs to be shut down. Because that's what they're doing. They're treating it very similar to CHOP, that this is some sort of autonomous zone, that they get to decide who moves around freely. They will follow and stalk members of the media and try to block and prevent a free press from doing its job. It's completely unacceptable in any public space, and particularly, I would argue, on a college campus where the university is clearly falling short of its obligation to keep students safe and to make sure that it is the one responsible for campus security and the safety of students, and it's falling short, if it has any respect whatsoever, for the First Amendment and for the protections of a free press, then it needs to put an end to the encampment for those reasons. No comment on the Israel and Palestine debate, no comment on what's happening in Gaza. It just comes down to those very basic issues. And it's stunning to me, it's unbelievable to me, that the university does not recognize it. And I would end by just saying one thing I've said over and over. How many days do you think a group of right-wing activists painting swastikas on our beautiful old buildings at UW, trying to stop the media from filming, dubbing people security guards to go around and stalk and harass people. How many days do you think a right-wing group of activists would be allowed to camp there, doing exactly what these people are doing? The answer is 0 days. It would have been dealt with immediately, as it should be. But for some reason, because of ideology, you're allowing this to happen, and the university should be ashamed of itself.